This is the Aptitude Outdoors Podcast, where we interview travelers, explorers, and outdoorsmen and women to bring you the best tips and stories from around the world. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Aptitude Outdoors Podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. Today our special guests are Jonathan and Attison, co-founders of CaptainExperiences.com. Met them when I was down in Texas at the Hunt Fish Podcast Summit and got to know them pretty well. So I wanted to get them on the podcast and talk about their awesome business that connects you with awesome charter captains for your next fishing trip. So you should definitely check it out. So let's dive right into this awesome conversation. Yeah, so guys, welcome to the podcast. Like I said before, I realized I wasn't recording. It was a whirlwind down there. I didn't get to interview half of the people I wanted to, so thanks for joining on here on Zoom. You guys flew down to, or you drove down to the ranch down in Texas, and it was my first time meeting you and hearing about Captain Experiences. So it's awesome that you guys started this company. What was the reasoning behind starting Captain Experiences? Because from what I can tell, it's like the Airbnb of fishing trips.
Yeah, Paul, exactly. And, first off, thanks for having us. We're excited to be here. But yeah, jumping right into it, I was working in my hometown of Houston in oil and gas finance. Company I was working for sold, and I said, hey, guys, we always talk about it. Let's finally book that fishing trip. They flipped it on me. They said, great job, Jonathan. You just nominated yourself to book a solid trip. So, I had grown up, fishing on the upper Texas coast with varying degrees of success, with friends and family, just surf fishing, wade fishing, that sort of thing. But never really had to book one of these trips. And so I was like, all right, guys, you're on. And I Googled Galveston fishing charters. From there, it's an absolute mess. You land on these outdated fishermen's websites, you dig around for phone numbers, you play phone tag. And I just said, like you said, you can book an Airbnb, you can call an Uber. What's the deal with fishing? So drove down to Galveston, walked the docks. These guides said, yeah, man, it's a real pain for us to launch these websites. It's a pain for us to market our trips. It'd be great if we could just partner with you to list our trips on one platform and have it all taken care of. So I said, okay, we might be onto something. Drove the opposite way to Austin, met up with Attison. And Attison's brought a lot to the table just in terms of, like the product side of things, because I was pretty much clueless on that. And so, we launched the platform in March of last year, which was a difficult time to launch anything, with COVID and the pandemic. But things started kind of ticking in May of last year. And now we're really off to the races here in 2021. So it's been an exciting ride so far.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's amazing how much of a barrier the internet can be from time to time with anything you want to do outdoors. I mean, right now, just coming back from this trip, I'm all geeked up on turkey hunting, and it's kind of the same experience up here in Ohio, man. I'm like driving around to public land, just looking and doing my best to figure it out on my own because there's not a lot of resources up here. I mean, you can call the DNR officers and they're like, yeah, you and everyone else want to know where the turkeys are at, bro. Figure it out yourself. So did you both like just big time fishermen before you started Captain Experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say big time. I mean, so I grew up fishing and, but I also grew up playing team sports, like football, lacrosse, basketball. And so that, really took up a majority of my time. But, I really enjoyed getting out there and being able to fish and relax and have that change of pace out in nature as well. But then, in a young professional career or whatever, you're not really playing lacrosse or football and hitting people like that, and so that's when it started, my re-engagement with doing this sort of stuff. And I realized there's really nothing out there, like you said, that helps people get out there.
Yeah. So. And then, Paul, for me, I was just going to say, so I grew up over on the East Coast and I grew up hunting, fishing, backpacking, basically doing everything outdoors. And the real turning point for me came when I moved to Texas about 3 years ago. Because at home, I had the same couple guides that I would go with all the time. And, when I could get out of the city, I would go and, meet a couple people and go outdoors and, get shit done. And then moving to Texas, I didn't have that connection anymore. So meeting Jonathan was really kind of, the icing on the cake. It was like, wow. I just combined this moving to Texas, not knowing where to go, not knowing what to do, with meeting someone. And, we kind of started, talking about how we could solve those problems. And it it applied to me directly.
So, Attison, what's some of your favorite stuff out east? I mean, I know you're full-time living in Texas now. You guys are running this awesome business and website. But kind of in the past, what were some of your favorite experiences out east? Because that's more accessible to me. I mean, coming down to Texas was a whole new ball game for me. But, I mean, anything up and down the East Coast is only a few hours drive for me.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff. But so where I grew up in Virginia. And my dad's family is from across Chesapeake Bay from there. So we would drive. It's about an hour and a half, to get across the bay, and you're instantly, you could call it God's country, whatever you want. Jonathan's basically, likes to talk about like how he's never heard of it. But
no, wait, what is it? Like Delmarva or something?
The Delmarva Peninsula.
Delmarva, yeah, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. So for those that don't know, that's prime Canada goose country and some great duck hunting as well. And then you also in the bay obviously have some great striper fishing. So the bay, you basically get a couple good striper seasons throughout the year, and the Canada geese are just unreal. So.
Heck yeah. As far as backpacking goes, man, that's kind of where I got my first real deal experiences in the outdoors. I did some serious backpacking about 5 years ago, and that's kind of where I fell into love. And now, hunting and fishing has become like my new obsession. So meeting all you guys down in Texas was just killer because everybody has such different perspectives. And, even though you're from Houston and now you're living in Austin and Attison, you're from out east. It was kind of a different world being out there in hill country. What'd you guys think of that? That was brand new to me.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, one of the things that I guess the only negative of living in Austin maybe is just the lack of access to saltwater, but it makes up for it in spades with what the hill country has to offer. So in the immediate vicinity of Austin, there's fantastic bass fishing, world class. But then heading out west to Junction, it's just absolutely incredible. I mean, the rolling hills, the desert landscapes, the beautiful Llano River that we stopped at on our way back, crystal clear water. I mean, it's just absolutely exquisite. One of the joys of the last weekend was, just dipping out of, work Friday a little bit early and just cruising down there. Screw the GoPro being out of the window. Our heads were out of the window. I was like, Attison, focus on the road, man. We gotta get there in one piece. We're both just gawking at this amazing scenery.
Yeah, the nice thing is that there's 0 other cars on the road out there because you're getting so remote. Luckily, I was just looking over the other lane trying to look at the sunset and stuff, and luckily it's not a huge deal out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. Luckily, Derek goes out there all the time from Impact Outdoors, and he was just kind of like, yeah, it's just another day for me. I was like, dude, this is freaking me out. This is like playing an old Western video game or something, like what's Red Dead Redemption or something. I'm out there just like, I can't believe I'm out here. I'm like waiting for a cowboy to ride by any second and just kind of like whip out a gun or crack a whip or something, all the stereotypical stuff. So what do you guys do out there in Austin besides, work on captain experiences all the time? I'm sure that's quite an endeavor, but for fun, we should say.
Yeah, we try to get out there. We always try to get out there a little bit more than we do. But let's see, I guess 2 weeks ago now we went out on Town Lake, which is it's part of the Colorado River system, and it's right there at the foot. Central Austin is as central as you can be. In the shadows of all of these brand new skyscrapers. And we were out there with one of our guides, Carson Conklin, just catching, bass after bass. It was a real blast. And so, we probably caught like 12 fish in a quick half day trip. And they were pretty much all in like the 3 to 4 pound range. So it was a really good time. Beyond that, just trying to get outdoors and stay outdoors, like you said, hiking and just getting out on the lake, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Do you either of you have like some crazy experiences outdoors? I know at least one of you have to have a crazy endeavor that you've been through in the outdoors, because I have a few times that have kind of got a little hairy out there, whether it be out on the water in the backcountry, but I know you got to have a story.
Yeah, I can answer that. So yeah. Paul, going back to the backpacking stuff. So I used to go kind of all over the country, high school to college, and Yeah, Austin's almost like cheating because you don't have to really travel anywhere to go hiking, so it's almost like a little easier. But so I've been kind of all over. I used to go on these trips up to the Adirondacks in New York. So I went probably a couple years in a row, and we would go in the middle of the winter and go snowshoeing. And so would go do that. It was usually with like 8 people, and we would kind of like, you'd hike around, climb to the top of a mountain during one day. The snow is really like, up there, it's like, 8 feet deep of snow. So you're really just treading lightly on top of this stuff. And then you head back to your cabin, make some mac and cheese with Spam in it, go to bed, wake up and do it again the next day. So all in good fun. So one day we're hiking up to the top of this mountain, we're kind of, I don't know, we maybe hike, 4 or 5 miles, get up to the top of this mountain, and we have a loop that we're doing. So we're supposed to go all the way around. Well, it starts snowing, and, we're kind of like following, our one guy who kind of knows where he's going. And the snow is kind of, not a lot of vision. We're walking in the treetops. So if you think about, 8 to 10 feet of snow, especially at the top of these mountains, you're basically, the snow is so far up on the trees that you're with the top of the tree rather than the bottom of the tree. Mm-hmm, and so the blazes on the trees end up being like way below the snow line. And so you can't really see them at all. So there's nothing marking your trail. And so when you're walking and it's snowing, you really don't know where you're going. And so at a certain point, we realized we're just wandering around up at the top of this mountain, having no idea where we're going. And it's starting to snow way more, and it's starting to get dark. And we're like, oh my God, we're going to get stuck. This is like an I Shouldn't Be Alive episode, that show. And so we're up there. We haven't seen another human in like 5 days. Wow. And all of a sudden, this random dude just pops out of the woods. Jeez. And he's like, hey, we're wandering around for like 2 hours. And this guy's like, hey, like, what's up, y'all? Like, do y'all know where you're going? You need a hand? And we're like, dude, this is like a ghost or something. Like, how the hell did this guy just pop out of nowhere? It turns out he was just local, and he happened to bump into us and showed us the way down. We thought we were going to be on the next episode of I Shouldn't Be Alive.
Dude, that's funny you say that, because I was just up in the Adirondacks in like January, and I went up there and visited my buddy, and we didn't have a similar experience, but that snow up there is nuts. I mean, I'm out here in Ohio. It blows all over. We get a ton of snow, but I mean, being up there in the freezing ass cold, I've never been like so worried about hypothermia in my life, because I was up there like, we're only out east. We don't have big mountains. It's like 3,000, 4,000 feet. Maybe there's a few 6,000 footers out there. Yep. Man, just being up, we climbed Hurricane Mountain, me and a buddy, and dude, I never sweat that much in the middle of winter in my whole life. I was like hiking up negative 12 degrees or something in a t-shirt, just like sweating my ass off. So I can definitely relate on that one. So what did you guys think of turkey hunting? I know you, like me, it was first time for you, and I was a little ashamed that I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, I thought it was great. So never been turkey hunting before. I've done a lot of other bird hunting, but obviously it's very different, right? It's a total cat and mouse game, which I think we knew going into it, but we didn't realize quite the extent of it. You're sitting there and you gotta, I don't know, all the guys that have done it before, telling you all those, all their stories about, well, you got to be really quiet. They've got really good eyesight. They've got really good hearing. They've got really good smell. And you're like, are these fucking, the smartest birds of all time? I don't know. And so maybe they are, because I guess Jonathan and I were doing something wrong, because we never
smarter
saw
than
one.
Us. Yeah,
smarter than the two of us.
Not saying much, but
yeah. But I mean, as we said, that hill country is awesome. So you really can't beat it. So even us just sitting there putzing around, staring at the scenery for a couple of hours was pretty great. But I wanted to ask you, so have you had any luck going back up to Ohio?
Yeah, so since I've been home, I went out and scouted. There's a state forest literally like 20 minutes from my house, 10 minutes. And I've been just tooling around in there after work and all that fun stuff, trying to find turkey, man. And I think I got spoiled down there in Texas because, I don't know if you guys had that experience, but I was with Todd Craighead down there hunting, and he was kind of like my quote unquote guide sitting in the blind with me. And he's just like, okay, do a call, and I'll call and they'll answer. He'd do a call. He'd do like a crow call or an owl call or something. I never even knew they'd answer. So I'm up here thinking I'm like hot shit. I'm taking my buddy. I was like, yeah, dude, I got all the tricks. Let's go. Just like a complete jackass. I'm out there like blowing all these calls. This is nothing, dude. And, but I was kind of talking to my buddy yesterday. I was like, hunting is fun, But I think scouting is more fun than hunting because there's still like this excitement when you're out there and actually on the hunt. It's frustrating. You know, you're up early, you're exhausted, you can't move, you got to be super quiet. But when you're out just like tromping around in the woods, experiencing new stuff, it's almost more exciting than hunting. Because I know the first time I hear a turkey up here where I live, I'm just gonna freak out. So are you guys, do you have the bug now? Because I'm like obsessed. Like I'm going out today and tomorrow to look. I'm just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I call every trip a scouting trip, you know, like my buddies, they're like, hey, you going fishing today? I'm like, no, I'm going scouting. And then if I catch a fish, oh yeah, then it's a fishing trip. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a blast. And yeah, I mean, like just the, the topography out there and everything was really cool. And yeah, we kind of had that scouting experience where, we saw a big herd of axis deer up there that Gene has, and those were amazing. And, we literally just sat down on this little log and just kind of watched them. And, they didn't really pick up on us at first, then they did. And, it's just really cool to kind of see them in their natural habitat, I guess.
Yeah, it was like being in a safari down there, being in that ranch. Yeah. Like I didn't know any of those animals even existed, to be completely honest. I'm sitting down there. You guys down in Texas, you guys got some wildlife, man. I was telling Derek, I saw more stuff driving down the road than I'll see in like a whole season here up in Ohio trying to hunt for deer or turkey or whatever. I mean, it's just, you guys have it's a whole different world down there. I love it.
It's pretty incredible. Yeah. Everything except, unicorns and werewolves or something.
There might be a few. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. Texas is a big play.
When you guys go out scouting, if you want to say that, what are some of your favorite species to catch? Because I have like -0 experience ocean fishing, except I went on like one charter last year in Florida. That was about the extent of my saltwater fishing.
Yeah, I mean the cream of the crop, I guess, for inshore fishing, at least for me personally, is speckled trout. I mean, that's just a blast. And redfish, speckled trout, and flounder are kind of like the big three here in Texas. But then going offshore, I really like tuna fishing. I mean, I just think it's an absolute blast to get way out there on the offshore rigs. Out of Galveston, you go like 100 miles plus or something like that. So it's pretty thrilling just to get out there, and then, no sight of humans whatsoever. And then, yeah, I mean, the best of the best is when you can get some tuna on top water. And so if you're in a big school of them, they're busting out of the water. I mean, 2 trips ago, I saw one that was literally 10 feet out of the water, an 80-pound fish or something. And I mean, I was like screaming my head off, and it was like, what's going on? Like, dude, there's a tuna like there, like not even pointing to the water. So that's pretty incredible. And then was lucky enough to catch one on a topwater plug. So that was probably the pinnacle of my fishing career thus far. Is pretty cool. Watch the blow up and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a number of things that make doing what we do so cool. But I think one of the best parts about it is that we have so many different options that it's really fun for us to see what everyone's how everyone's scouting different ways and going after different species and stuff. And I think the coolest thing is that even for the people that can't get out there and scout in person, we throw updates on our site. So we try and say, hey, if you can't get out there, we've got live fishing reports from all of our guides. And so you can say, hey, I'm living vicariously through them, and I can kind of scout from the internet and see what's going on and see how everything's. And, people love that. I mean, they're just like, hey, yeah, I love being able to, follow it in the action and see what's going on, even if I can't get out there just yet. Plus, if I'm traveling, across the country to go somewhere, maybe I can't get that scouting in person. I want to have the regular updates and see what's going on. So we try and help people out with that a little bit.
And that's something, I'm glad you said that, because that's something now that I just running the podcast and talking to tons of different people and tons of different activities. It's kind of a point of contention nowadays with especially the hunting community and the fishing community, because a lot of people that fish, hunt, they hold on to these like secret spots, these secret fishing areas or hunting areas like like they do not want people to know about them. And then you got people like me running around with cameras and shit, probably driving them absolutely bonkers. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, the future's here, whether people want it or not. I mean, the internet is a tool that everyone's using for everything, even if you're just looking at like satellite imagery. So how do you think that's going to progress? And what's your maybe opinion on using the internet to scout in that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think, any advantage that you can get is great. If you're using, Google Maps or something, I know that's a super popular one for people to go and find your next spot, like by all means. Where I think it gets a little bit contentious is, this spot burning stuff where, a guide has a spot and they're pretty protective of it and that sort of thing. And, I totally understand that. And what we do with our social media is, we promote the guides. We don't promote the spots or anything like that. So, if you're fishing with, let's just say Captain Larry out of Aransas Pass, he's launching his boat in Aransas Pass. Anybody who's lined up there at the boat ramp can see that, but, he's going off to his own spot. And so when we tag his pictures, we're just saying Aransas Pass, or we're saying the Texas Coastal Bend. We're not saying, these coordinates on the Google Map chart, and so I think, we haven't run into any problems there like that.
Yeah. And the other thing I'd add is that I think, at a certain point what we're trying to do is kind of teach people the way forward. And I would rather teach you how to see the signs for yourself than just go to a spot and just, cast into it. So I think it's almost, the fish aren't going to be the same place every day anyways. Right. So there's some spots that'll naturally be better than others just based on their geography. But at the end of the day, I want you as a person to understand, we're not experts at this either, but to understand, here's how you can see the signs. Here's what you can expect. Here's how you can learn to read nature a little bit better. And I think that's one of those things that comes with time. If, going back to scouting again, if you're just out in nature a lot, you're going to understand how different things interact and how different, why different sounds are where and why different water movements mean different things. And that's just an experience and exposure thing, right? The more you're out there, the more you see. And, the more pointers that we can kind of give people to kind of learn over time, then the better they'll be.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to the outdoors specifically. I mean, because it's the most level playing field between you and the animal, especially with hunting and fishing, because you have to have a really in-depth understanding of how an animal lives, how it moves, how it sleeps, how it eats, how it just its daily patterns. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And I like to push myself a lot, but just like with down in Texas at the Hunt Fish Podcast conference, man, it was so exciting, so frustrating. I mean, I think I'm still we're almost a week and a half out from when we got home from this thing. And I'm still catching up on sleep and just my adrenaline just going full bore and draining and full bore. It wiped me out. And you think some people just think these animals are stupid. I hear people all the time, oh, do you mean you didn't get a deer? They're stupid. They walk right in the middle of the road. I'm like, it's not that easy. It's the most difficult game of cat and mouse that you'll ever experience in your life. I don't know if you guys have that kind of similar vein of how you feel about the outdoors, especially. I'm talking on my ass here, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, the way I think about it is, that animal, doesn't have a job. It doesn't have anything. Its full-time responsibility is surviving and living and not getting caught, and just getting bigger and having babies. And so, that's what you're up against, so for us to be working a 9-to-5 job or whatever, and then be like, yeah, I'm going to go sit in a blind for, 4 hours, 6 hours or whatever. Even this turkey hunt, it just takes time, and so, that's the way I think about it. And that's why it's always great to, go with a guide. That's what we're excited about doing with Captain, is that in this day and age, everybody's, stuck in the rat race and everyone's time is compressed. And so being able to go out with a guide and, get yourself up that learning curve with less time, is a great way to do it. And they're happy to share these tips because they know, once you're asking the first question, you're hooked. You're never gonna, get to the end of that road. There's always something new to learn.
Yeah, man. And I'm kind of in the same vein as you. I worked in finance for a few years, and like, man, that rat race just kills you. I mean, it's so rigid. There's no, there's not a lot of flexibility in the 9-to-5 world. I mean, the animal, like, I changed my whole lifestyle and perspective to be able to do that more. Like the job I have now, I work in media and I could just work from home mostly. And I just go, if I want to go scout at 5 a.m. or 6 p.m. or whatever, I just go do it and make up the time. And I think once you get obsessed with the outdoors, that comes naturally. People ask like, oh, you're so lucky, or they say you're so lucky, or how did you get into this? I was like, I specifically went out of my way to try and find work that allowed me to do more outdoor stuff. And I think for someone like me, even trying to get away from this mindset is hard. Just because you are obsessed with the outdoors, you love the outdoors, that doesn't have to be your quote unquote career path. You know, like you guys started Captain Experiences. I got something stuck in there. And you know, 90% of your day isn't fishing. It's probably working on web stuff and making client calls and selling. But you know, you open yourself up to have more time to spend in the outdoors, and that's awesome. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that or not, but that's kind of my perspective on how to tackle that question, because a lot of guys want that lifestyle, and it's like, you gotta make it happen, dude.
Yeah, it's super difficult for us to you know, balance that, because you know, obviously we want to be getting out there and doing it all ourselves, but you know, what's more important to us is you know, kind of sacrificing our own time to get other people out there. And you know, the analogy that we use is you know, the guy who's on surf patrol. You know, so there's this surfer who's sitting at the beach, and you know, everybody calls him, "Hey man, how's the surf?" And he goes, "Oh, it's decent. It's not great today." You know, they call him again. "Oh, it's all right, but not great." And then they call again. They don't get an answer. And that's when you know that the surfing's great, you know, because he's out there ripping it up. But we can't be like that. You know, we can't be like, oh, you know, how's the fishing captain experiences? No one's answering because we're all fishing, you know, like we've got to be known for that customer service. And that means sacrificing our own time to, you know, do some of the work, the behind the scenes work, like just making sure that the website doesn't go down and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I noticed, and for people listening and watching, whatever, I'm so ADHD, I switch topics like every 5 seconds. So, sorry about that. But, Attison, I was doing some deep diving there on the IG, you know, that personal gram over there. And I saw you did some traveling over in Cambodia, man. That is nuts. What was that all about?
Yeah, so that was actually honeymoon trip. So I went over there, and my wife wasn't too. So I'm the kind of guy that I want to always be doing an activity and doing something and being active and walking around and, you know, whatever it is. And my wife is the kind of person that wants to sit on the beach and not move for 14 days straight. So it's a little. I can relate. Yeah. The compromise we landed on was doing activities every hour of every day for 14 days straight, and she wasn't too happy about that. But it was pretty crazy. I mean, it's fun to get over there. It's my only time I've ever been over there, and we ended up hopping around to 5 countries in 10 days, really. So we really plowed ahead and did a ton of stuff.
What's some of the highlights over there? Because that's one thing I've never got to do yet. I will do it someday, but I haven't got to travel overseas, and it's just like, I haven't even touched the surface of America, and I've been to a lot of damn places in the U.S. So, you know, traveling overseas seems awesome. So, what are some of your favorites over there?
To be honest, it's kind of hard to say, but I think, I don't know, I'm not even a huge history buff, but just seeing Angkor Wat had to be honestly one of the most surreal things. It's just the fact that you think about these people that were living there, you know, thousands of years ago, and they built this structure that's honestly way more impressive in person than any picture you could see of it. And it just kind of blows your mind, like, you know, thinking about a totally different culture that built something so wild so long ago. It's just pretty unreal.
Yeah, man. I mean, some of that old historical stuff doesn't even compare. I mean, the U.S., we got, like 200 plus years of like historical cities and stuff. And then we have like, you know, a few thousand years before that of Native American stuff, which, you know, we barely scratch the surface on that stuff too. We're still finding stuff every day. So yeah, it is amazing, all of that crazy stuff over there around the world. Like, we haven't touched anything over here yet. Jonathan, man, you have any cool travel plans, or you have any places you've been that have been really exciting to you?
Cool travel plans. I mean, nothing on the docket right now. Let's see. I mean, was fortunate enough to take a family safari to Tanzania a few years ago, and that was pretty incredible. Yeah, I mean, talking about life changing. I mean, that trip was really part of the inspiration behind Captain, because our guide, Dom Lever, just a renowned wildlife photographer, just the cream of the crop, just absolutely amazing. And he's also an avid fisherman. And so we're working on working with him right now to get some of his pretty incredible destination trips, offered through Captain. But I mean, it's really cool. Yeah, he's up to some cool stuff. So we're excited to share more about that. But I mean, yeah, that trip was just unbelievable. Getting to see the wildebeest crossings, the crocodiles coming up. We saw one unfortunate wildebeest just get snatched out of the river. It was pretty wild. Leopards, it's just incredible over there.
I think I think for any outdoorsman or outdoorswoman or whoever, I think Africa is like always the dream. Like that's it. I've asked pretty much on every podcast I've done, except for maybe a few where I forgot. Like, where do you want to go if you had unlimited money? And it's like the three are Africa, Alaska, or New Zealand. That's like cream of the crop. Everybody wants to go there. So, I mean, if someone's looking to go to Africa, how big of a hassle is that? I mean, international travel right now obviously is, in an ideal world, it would be much easier. But how hard is it to book a trip like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now things are opening up. A lot of these countries are clamoring for for tourists, and so the best thing arguably that you could do is get your shots, get vaccinated, all of that, and then start traveling again, get back out there. For me, the number one place specifically in Africa on my bucket list is Botswana and the Okavango Delta. I mean, the wildlife there is incredible, but I mean, there's just so much to do. Tarpon fishing in Gabon, where they have the gorillas and stuff. And then, the Cape of Africa on the West Coast actually has some of the best tarpon fishing in the world. I believe there have been a few world records there for tarpon. And so there's a lot to explore.
Yeah, man, that's on the bucket list for sure. Hopefully we need to have a Hunt Fish podcast conference over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's do it.
You need to get that one funded. So you guys told me a pretty hilarious story down there while we were fishing about a drone experience, because we were bonding over potentially crashed drones. So why don't you reiterate that story here if you can, because I was cracking the hell up.
Yeah, sure. So I don't remember what we were telling, because we've had a couple of drone incidents. Maybe we can rehash the quick overview.
Yeah. Our third co-founder, Laszlo.
Yeah. So basically, we went and got this drone. We were going to take a big week-long trip and see about 10 of our guides in Texas and kind of hop around. So we were like, okay, well, let's get our first drone. We'll kind of check it out, see how it is.
Yeah.
So we buy the drone. And Jonathan was like, all right, well, maybe we should get the warranty insurance option on it. And I was like, no, why would we do that? That's crazy. We don't need that. You never get the warranty. And he was like, no, I we should. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's fine. Maybe that's a good call. We've never used a drone before. We take it out, we get it. And it's like, kids opening up a toy on Christmas morning, and we open it up and we go, there's a little park right by Jonathan's house. And, we throw it up, and we're kind of fighting over who gets the controls a little bit. And there's some cute little kids running around in the park. And so we're kind of just, testing it out and filming them and, watching them run around, and they're kind of messing, waving at the drone. And then all of a sudden the drone just kind of goes dark, and we realized that we had just put it on basically a loop and put it to, circle around these kids without thinking. We're both intently looking at the phone and not looking at all at where the drone's going, and it slams a tree, breaks two of its arms, and crashes to the ground about 20 minutes after we put it out of the box the first time.
Literally snap.
So then, of course, we're happy we got the warranty. We still have to kind of beg and plead. Jonathan did some begging and pleading to get a new one. We got a new drone.
Shout out to the Geek Squad at Best Buy.
And so then we had to give the drone a new name, because we were like, okay, well, this guy's a total legend, the drone itself. We called him Laszlo, short for Lazarus, because he came back from the dead for us. And we've since had a number of incidents, but Laszlo is actually quite a hero. He really knows how to handle himself in high wind and stuff. So shout out to DJI Mavic Mini. They're really all that.
Yeah, man, I've crashed a drone, unfortunately, and that hurt my soul at the deepest level. I was so sad because it was a similar experience. I just bought it. I spent like a day flying it around, figuring, oh yeah, I'm a videographer. I know what I'm doing. No idea. Crashed the shit out of it immediately within like 3 hours of filming a commercial, and I was like, man, this is not good. I was worried, because I wanted to take it out. I'm not far from Lake Erie up here, up on the Great Lakes. So, I have buddies that take me fishing and stuff all the time out there. And I was worried right before I left for the conference. I almost brought my drone with me on the water to film some stuff. And I was worried because you guys told a story about it almost dropping into the ocean. And I was just like, that's the exact thought I had. I was like, the boat's drifting and it takes off and it sets like a waypoint to land back at that spot. So I was like, if something happens and I lose signal or something, it's just going to go into the water and like I will never see it again. And all that footage will be lost and I'll be out another like $800, which is not a good time if you own a drone,
Yeah. So that's a great point. That was another terrible tragedy, almost near tragedy of Laszlo. So basically we were trolling offshore. And so we were like, oh, it'll be really cool to get some shots of us, trolling along. And so we're not thinking about the landing zone at all. So we ended up trolling for like 10 minutes or whatever. It didn't seem like that long. But I think we ended up traveling about a mile or maybe a little over a mile. And so all of a sudden we realized that the drone is no longer following us. It's basically just staying stationary. And we realized that it's because it's got some like limit of how far it can go. And so in the drone's mind, it's like, all right, well, I'm a mile from where they started. That means I must be a mile from where the controls are. But really, we're still right next to it. It just thinks it's got to go way back. And so we're still trolling along. When you're trolling, you can't really just like stop. You got to like take all your lines in and everything and do all that. So we're frantically trying to get the lines in. Meanwhile, it's saying, all right, I can't find y'all. So I'm just going to go ahead and land. And it's getting closer and closer to the water and, like slowly moving down. And so we're like frantically reeling in the lines and turning the boat around. And, we luckily caught it just in time.
Yeah.
Close calls.
That is a thing of nightmares. I never want to relive that experience ever again. I'm still to this day nervous of flying a drone. Even if it's like wide open like it was down there in Texas, I'm like 400 feet in the air and I'm like, I don't know. I could hit something.
That's how I feel a little bit. But Jonathan here is like,
oh man,
he'll do it anytime. It's like 200 mile per hour winds, hurricane speed. And Jonathan's like, dude, I think it'll be fine. The drone's like 5 inches big. It's got like tiny little tiny little rotors. Jonathan's like, dude, it'll be totally cool. We'll get up there.
We'll have to send you some of these drone shots, though. I mean, they're pretty incredible. But when you think about, being a drone operator yourself, when you think about how high I got Laszlo, it's, I guess, some people might frown upon that.
Well, it's funny because it was the last literal hour of hunting down there in Texas. And I'm sitting on I'm getting pretty aggressive at this point. In the morning, I broke into someone's hunting area, probably pissed them off real bad. You'll hear about that story on another podcast. But I did that. I got all turned around out there in the hills, wandering around. I ended up, nobody ended up getting a turkey, but I'm sitting out there. It's like the last hour and, the sun's starting to set. And I'm like looking over this little hill, trying to call this turkey in like for a last minute, like Hail Mary shot or anything to get something. Like I wanted to be that guy, the underdog that got the turkey. It just didn't pan out. But all of a sudden I'm sitting there and I hear this like, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I'm like, oh shit, I'll bet you Jonathan and Attison are flying that drone over there. And no shit, I look up and there's like this drone flying. It's got this beautiful sunset shot, which you guys graciously sent to me. So thank you. But yeah, man, those sunsets out there, I remember the last hour of every day just sitting on the corner of the property, just staring, just like, I don't even care if there's turkey right now. So amazingly beautiful. But the conference is awesome. I was super glad to meet you guys down there and everybody was so helpful. I'm hoping that, we'll all be able to get down there next year again as well. So, as we're getting close to the end here, what's the kind of end goal with Captain Experiences, I mean, you guys are relatively new, relatively young, kind of trying to build, but where are you guys headed? What's your big plans?
Yeah. Thanks for that question. We're always excited to talk about it because, right now, a lot of people think that we're just focused on fishing, but, the vision for Captain is to unlock the outdoors for all and really make it easy for people to book outdoor sports guides across all of these different verticals, whatever you're looking to do. And so we really see an opportunity to grow. But, right now we're really focused on getting fishing right. But the vision is to expand across all outdoor sports and geographies and really, grow the sport, grow participation in the outdoors, and support our guides.
Yeah, I mean, you guys already have quite a few guides on there. So what's the hardest part about running something like this? Because, I mean, essentially, when it boils down to it, it's all customer service in the end. I mean, do you get people that don't catch a fish and they get upset? Or what's kind of the hardest part of running something? Because you're basically like a middleman guide service in a way,
Yeah. I would say, the hardest part is just not being able to grow and expand the way that we want to, because, you really do have to focus on quality. And so, our first sort of, projections were like, okay, like we're going to be in, fishing, and then we're going to be doing hunting, and then we're going to be doing it, in places like Africa and worldwide. And, that's going to be week 3, and so you really have to kind of like pare that down and say, okay, we're going to be really damn good at booking fishing trips along, the Gulf Coast, focusing on saltwater, focusing on, 400 core guides that we know are reliable, fantastic guides. And so, that's kind of been, I would say, the hardest part.
Yeah, as a podcaster, I can relate, because I was like, I'm going to start this podcast, probably get a quick 1 million downloads, and then, just roll in the dough. I'm going to be like, what do they call those guys? Like a serial entrepreneur, just going to fly around the world in my jet. So far has not panned out that way, but I did get to go to the conference. That's been the highlight of my podcasting career to date. So.
In the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's always an uphill battle, and it never works. It ends up costing you way more in the beginning than it really makes you, it seems like, at this point. So before we wrap up here, why don't you guys drop all your socials and, if you want, your personal stuff, where people can find you, and obviously your website and stuff like that, and I'll throw it up on the screen. Okay,
yeah, good deal. I mean, people can find us at captainexperiences.com. That's where they can search for the exact trip they're looking for, or they can call us at 833-CAPTAIN. It's 833-227-8246. On Instagram, we're just at Captain Experiences. Facebook, the same thing. That's really about it for us.
All right. Well, Jonathan, Attison, thank you guys so much. I hope to see you guys next year, and maybe if I ever get down that way again, I'll hop on Captain Experiences and book myself a fishing trip, because I love getting out on the water, man. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, let's do it, Paul. We'll all get out there together one day.
Hell yeah. Peace out, dudes.
Awesome.
All right, see you,
Take
Paul.
care.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this episode of the Aptitude Outdoors Podcast here on YouTube. If you can, help me out. Go down below, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you could, go check out Aptitude Outdoors on all of our social media channels, or on all of them. Check them out if you can, and give a follow, like, whatever you got to do. And this will be the last episode from the Hunt Fish Podcast Summit. We will be returning soon to our normally scheduled programming, a mix of everything that I like to do and people I like to talk to. So we're getting back on track with that there. And I want to thank Jonathan and Attison from Captain Experiences for coming on and sharing their awesome stories. If you'd like to book a trip, head over to captainexperiences.com. They have tons of trips to offer, so check it out. And I'll see you guys next time.